A Riley fairy tale. Our story, our legacy. Our beginning. 2 branches, 1 tree. Hazel and Hayward Riley. Hayward Richard Riley was born on February 10, 1916 in New York City to Elizabeth Lizzie Lillian Hazard, age 38, and John Edgar Riley, age 46. At some point between the age of 2 and 4, he was fostered by Frank and Mary Holloway and lived with them in Long Branch, New Jersey. Although it was thought that he was adopted due to the death of his parents, this does not appear to be true. According to the census of 1920, his father was still alive and was listed as a widow and only had the 3 oldest children living in. His mother's death does not appear to ever have been recorded, but most likely occurred in 1918 when Hayward was 2. In 1918 New York City, especially in Manhattan where they lived, there was an epidemic of Spanish flu that killed 30,000 to 40,000 people, and unfortunately, many names were not reported, especially those of poor or black people. I could find no adoption records. However, it is believed that since his mother died when he was so young, that Hayward was probably sent to live in a foster home while his older siblings remained with his father. Based on census records, they were all working, even as young as 12 and 14. Based on online advice, since no official records have been found, it is most likely that Hayward was not officially adopted by the Holloways, but instead was put in their care as a foster child. I have been unable to find any information at all about the Holloways except the 1915, 1920, and 1930 census results. According to the census of 1930, Hayward was 14 and going by the last name of Holloway. He lived at 178 Spruce Street in Long Branch and worked as a newsboy. No other records can be found after 1930 about why he left the Holloways. Possibly one or both passed away, as they were an older couple, age 53 and 63, when they took him in. He moved to Fairhaven and lived with the Bailey family, John and Ella, on River Road in Fairhaven. The Baileys ran an unofficial foster home, primarily for boys whose parents became indigent or passed away during the Depression era caused by the Spanish flu epidemic. He was at this home with the 3 Taylor boys and became close friends with Raymond Taylor. Mrs. Bailey was a free woman and a school teacher at Fairhaven's Colored People's School on Fisk Street. Hayward graduated from Red Bank High School in 1937, still using the name of Holloway. He lettered in football and also played basketball for a year. On a cute side note, in his senior yearbook, when all students were asked what they thought they would grow up to be, Hayward wrote a daddy. Probably in the late 1930s, Hayward went back to the name of Riley, which suggests his name was not officially changed when he was younger and that he was aware of his Riley heritage. It is the Riley name he shared with his new wife. Hayward was the youngest of 6 children with 3 sisters: Eleanor May Riley Battle, born in 1904, Dorothy Riley, born in 1907, and Sylvia Beatrice Riley, born in 1909. He also had 2 brothers, Clifford Edgar Riley, born in 1905, and David Riley, who died as an infant in 1911. It is possible that Dorothy and Sylvia may have died as infants as well, as they are no longer on census by 1920, unless also fostered to unknown families. Hayward lived with his family in Manhattan, New York, until he went to the Holloways. Hayward married Hazel Livingston in New York City on October 1, 1937, when she was 21. They lived first with her mother on Browns Lane in Fairhaven until they had their own home next door, where they raised their 14 children. When they were first married, Hayward worked as a shipping clerk for H. Grindoff & Co. of New York. He was also very involved with Fisk Chapel AME Church and even led Bible school. He passed away on February 15, 1995. Hazel Elizabeth Livingston was born on March 1, 1916, in Long Branch, New Jersey, to Marceline Reevey, age 27, and Harry Livingston, age 34. Hazel was the second child, born after her sister Marietta. Unfortunately, her father passed away when she was less than a year old. Her mother married Edward Brown when she was only 2, and he raised her and her sister as his own on Brown's Lane in Fairhaven. Hazel was joined by 2 additional siblings, Dorothy Toots Brown in 1922 and Edward Sonny Brown in 1924. Hazel was educated at the Black Fisk Street School in Fairhaven. The formal integration of public schools in Fairhaven did not take place until September 1947. Hazel did, however, attend Red Bank High School, graduating in 1936, the year before Hayward. She also graduated from the Orchid School of Beauty in New York. She worked for years at Bamberger's department store and raised her 14 children alongside Hayward in Fairhaven. The photos show an adorable Hazel in 1917 at 1 year old, and her bio page from her Red Bank High School yearbook from 1936. Her quote was, "A pleasant manner, a cheery smile, the things that make life worthwhile." Hazel was a dedicated member and celebrated singer at Fisk Chapel AME Church in Fairhaven. She was a prominent member of the Fisk Chapel Choraleers, also known as the Songbirds, a powerful women's choir that provided music for the congregation for decades. You can see Hazel in the back row, smiling as always. The other photo is the belated marriage announcement for her and Hayward that came out on Thursday, March 31, 1938 in the Daily Register. It read, "Livingston Riley. Announcement has been made of Miss Hazel Livingston, daughter of Mrs. Marceline L. Brown of Fairhaven, and Hayward Riley of New York. The wedding took place in New York October 1st, 1937, and was performed by Reverend B.C. Robeson. The attendants were Mr. and Mrs. Roy Siddle of New York. Mrs. Siddle is a sister of the bride. The latter is a graduate of Red Bank High School and of Orchid School of Beauty, New York. Mr. Riley is a graduate of Red Bank High School and is employed as a shipping clerk by H. Grindoff of Co. of New York." John Edgar Riley, father of Hayward, was born in May 1870 in New Haven, Connecticut, the son of Ella and Edgar Riley. As a baby living in New Haven, his race was marked as M for mulatto on the census. Surprisingly, most of Hayward's relatives were labeled as mulatto, mixed race, on the census records, his mother's family too. He married Elizabeth Lillian Hazard on September 23, 1902, in Manhattan, New York. Large populations of Black and mulatto New Yorkers lived in San Juan Hill, now the Lincoln Center area of Manhattan, so most likely they lived there. They had 6 children in 11 years: Eleanor, Clifford, Dorothy, Sylvia, David, and Hayward. Here is the original marriage certificate of John and Lizzie from September 23, 1902, in Manhattan. While living in Manhattan, John worked general labor jobs, like a janitor, and in 1910 he was working as a public porter, moving goods in Manhattan's bustling commercial districts. His children with Lizzie, Eleanor, Clifford, Dorothy, Sylvia, David, and Hayward. Unfortunately, only Eleanor, Clifford, and Hayward survived. The other 3 died as infants. David was born and died in 1911 and was buried in Pottersfield. Pottersfield is a term of biblical origin, referring to a place dedicated for the burial of the bodies of unknown, unclaimed, or indigent people. John himself passed away in March 1930 at the age of 60. Elizabeth Lillian Hazard, Lizzie to friends and family, was the mother of Hayward. She was born in July of 1877 in Geneva, New York, to Ebenezer Hazard Jr. and Cordelia Johnson. The Hazard family name is deeply historical and highly prominent within the early African American and mixed-race communities of New England, especially Rhode Island and Connecticut, and New York. By marrying Elizabeth Hazard, John Riley connected his lineage to established Northeastern family of color. Elizabeth Hazard's lineage links our family tree directly to one of the most well-respected and historically documented Black families in the region. Her parents, Ebenezer Hazard Jr. and Cordelia Johnson, raised a massive, close-knit family that left a lasting legacy. In the New York 1900 census, Lizzie's mother was a widow of 3 years. Lizzie and some of her siblings still lived at home in their 20s, providing income to the household. At this time, she is listed as a dressmaker by trade. Following her marriage to John Edgar Riley on September 23, 1902 in Manhattan, federal and state census data track their household as they built a life together in Manhattan during a period of massive growth for NYC's Black communities. By 1910, the couple had 2 of 4 surviving children, Eleanor May, age 6, and Clifford, age 5. She and John were adapting to life in the city, with Lizzie continuing her professional dressmaking skills she honed back in Geneva. She most likely worked from home, in addition to working for local dress shops. Just a reminder of the times. Before the Civil Rights Movement, most Black people were not allowed to try on clothing or shoes in stores. It was due to this that so many Black women became seamstresses and dressmakers. They turned exclusion into elegant fashion and discrimination into design. The injustices of the time closed doors, but these women busted them down and created their own doors. Sadly, however, in 1918, the Spanish flu epidemic tore through all major cities, including New York City, killing between 30,000 and 40,000 people. Based on my exhaustive research, combing every archive in New York State, my only conclusion is that Lizzie was among those who perished during the epidemic, but her name was not recorded due to the sheer volume of deaths and because the poor and minorities were often overlooked. Although none of these photos depict Lizzie, to understand her craft, you must see the Edwardian fashion of the time, 1900 to 1910, and imagine the amazing fashions she must have. Harry Livingston, father of Hazel, born to Elias Livingston, age 22, and Mary Ann Reevey, age 15, in Eatontown, New Jersey, known as Reeveytown. Harry lived in Reeveytown almost all of his life, with his parents and a brother, Alonzo, who was born 1889. His mother died in 1889, possibly in childbirth, and his father eventually remarried to Delphine Della Livingston in 1898. Elias and Della tried to have a child, but their daughter passed of infant death in 1893. During most of his life, Harry and his family worked as farm wage laborers. He married Marceline Reevey in 1905. They had 2 children during their marriage, Mary and Hazel. Unfortunately, Harry died as a young father in November 1916, at the age of 34, less than a year after Hazel was born. He is buried at White Ridge Cemetery in Eatontown, New Jersey. Harry and her parents. However, knowing the age difference of the sisters, I'm not sure. Marceline Reevey, mother of Hazel, was the daughter of Willametta Reevey and Benjamin on February 18, 1889, in Eatontown, New Jersey. Her mother was only 15 when she was born, and unfortunately passed away when Marceline was only 6. Marceline was then raised by her grandmother, Mary Nickens. Her obituary says her father was Benjamin. However, based on research, Benjamin was her grandfather, and any other Benjamins that would have been present at the time of her birth were much older and married, so unsure who her father was. Marceline married Harry Livingston in 1905. They had 2 children during their marriage, Mary and Hazel. Unfortunately, Harry died in November 1916, less than a year after Hazel was born. She remarried Edward W. Brown in 1918 when Hazel was only 2, so he became her father. She and Edward had 2 children, Dorothy in 1922 and Edward in 1924, and they raised them on his land on Browns Lane in Fairhaven, New Jersey. Marceline was a housewife, and Edward was a teamster with the Borough Roads. By 1930, Marceline still stayed at home, while Edward worked as a laborer on a private estate, and Mary, 24 by this time, worked as a governess. The other children were still in school. Edward passed away in 1936, leaving Marceline a widow to raise their family and take care of the home they owned. Having only a 7th grade education, she became a laundress to pay the bills. By 1940, she had a full household of working young people, including teens Dorothy and Edward, Hazel, and her new son-in-law, Hayward, who worked in a dry goods store. Before long, Marceline was enjoying being a grandmother to Hazel and Hayward's children and lived long enough to become a great-grandmother. She passed away on May 27, 1969. She is also buried at White Ridge Cemetery in Eatontown, New Jersey. Hayward's grandparents, Edgar and Ella Riley. No records found so far of their actual birth and death dates, but I'm trying to dig deeper. Hayward's maternal grandparents, Ebenezer Hazard Jr., born August 1823 and died November 8, 1897, and Cordelia Johnson, born October 1835 and died June 20, 1923. The obituary notice was in the local Geneva newspaper for Cordelia, who was a beloved member of the community. Also shown are both of the headstones at the Washington Street Cemetery in Hazel's grandmother, Willametta Revey, born June 3, 1873, died in 1895. No further info on her grandfather. She is buried at White Ridge Cemetery in Eatontown, New Jersey. Hazel's great-grandparents, Benjamin Reevey, born 1833, died August 24, 1897, and Mary Ellis Nickens, born March 7, 1848, died in 1924. They are buried at White Ridge Cemetery. A rare photo of them was found, not sure of year. There is so much more to our family available. Please see the family tree I created. I am consistently updating the family tree with more people and updated dates and facts the best I can. The next few slides I created to honor some family members that stand out and should be recognized for their accomplishments. If I forgot anyone, please let me know. An American hero, Hayward's brother, Clifford Edward Riley, born October 9, 1905, and died February 21, 1966. Clifford was a private first class with the U.S. Army during World War II. He served with the 369th Infantry, 2nd Battalion, from October 17, 1942 to February 7, 1944. He is buried at Long Island National Cemetery in New York. On October 25, 1977, his wife Margaret was interred with him. An American hero, Hayward's great-uncle, Garrett S. Johnson, was born around 1844 and died February 10, 1864. He was killed in action in Georgia during the Civil War while serving as a Union soldier. He was a private in Company E, 20th Colored Infantry. He is buried with his family at the Washington Street Cemetery in Geneva, New York. An American hero, Hazel's brother, Sonny Brown, born April 19, 1924, and died November 7, 2012. He served during World War II with the U.S. Navy from 1943 to 1946. Also, for 25 years, he worked for Army intelligence at the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. He is buried in White Ridge Cemetery, Eatontown. An American hero, Hayward and Hazel's great-grandson, Jamie Riley, born March 21, 1997, and died January 22, 2019, when along with another soldier was fatally injured in a Stryker vehicle accident during a training exercise. Private First Class Jamie was a decorated cavalry scout, reconnaissance soldier stationed at Fort Bliss, Texas, where he was assigned to the 1st Armored Division, 1st Battalion, 36th Infantry Regiment, 1st Stryker Brigade Combat Team. He is honorably buried at Arlington National Cemetery. Who knew we have someone famous in our family? Hayward's uncle Albert, Bert Hazard, born July 1875, died October 1914. Bert was a trainer for famed cyclist Major Taylor, who was considered the first Black American global sports superstar, and also became the first Black American to achieve the level of world champion. The duo traveled the world, competing from New York City to all over Europe. In 1912, Bert did his own race, and by 1914, his health declined. He eventually died of a lingering illness in October, at the age of 39.